hungry dog runs faster.
You can get over the hump. I promise you. You will not die. It's all habit breaking.
I can't even explain this feeling that I was feeling. Like drunk, high, my fucking hands were like, I couldn't close my hands.
I promise you, humans love a handicap. Put that on a t-shirt.
4, you say it's a stupid idea. Stop eating fucking chips, all right?
And I was texting Joshua like, bro, this fast, I'm going to break it. I just can't wait to eat.
And part of me was like, Joshua, you went a little too far. The other part of me was like, you took it to a place where it's like, all right, that you know where the line is. I was fucked up.
Welcome to the Real Show. I'm Zachary.
And I'm Joshua. And today we're talking about our 85-hour fast we just completed, inspired by Gary Brecka.
It sucked, but I do highly recommend.
And before you judge us, get the fucking chips out of your mouth.
I gotta stack out this gold. I tell you I'm on the road. About to get all this dough. Me and no fuck niggas know. I swear to God we the ghosts. This ain't the story they told. Man, if you know, then you know. I never had to tell my dogs that we on rough for greatness. They paper getters, they want money more.
Joshua and I just completed an 85-hour water fast. I did 83 because I went to play basketball, but Joshua did 85 hours. It's our second time doing it. First time we did 72, right? Exactly, maybe 73. This time we did 85, 83. So it was really intense. We did no bone broth, just electrolytes, amino acids, and water.
I would say this fast was way more intense than the first time we ever did it. The first time we did it was pretty easy. We walked in the pool. We did exactly how Gary Brecka recommended it, the first timer to do it. Use
with
bone
Dana
broth.
White.
Yeah, with Dana White. But he use bone broth, do all these things. So the bone broth actually makes you feel strong. Like I felt like when first time I ever did the fast, we used bone broth, and I felt strong the whole time. This next time we did it, I didn't consume anything. I consumed 0 calories. All I did was water, electrolytes, and I would consume amino acids before I'd work out. That is the only time that I would consume anything. And I'll tell you what, I felt weak. By the end of it, I felt weak. And but it was a good experience. It was a very good experience.
It's definitely one of those things where it's like you see how far you can go without food, which is really important because then you realize how much we as humans eat. And I would say if we're going to give like the time frame, I think it's good to go like 24, 48, 72, 85, like how we finished it. First 24, I think, is 100% habit breaking.
Yeah.
You're stopping the snacking. You're learning you can skip breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and really the snacks because that's what kills you. And then you have the next 24, so 25, 48 hours. I think is by far the hardest. Would you agree, Joshua?
Day 2 is the hardest. I think for someone who's never fasted for a long period of time, maybe you've only tried intermittent fasting like 12 hours or whatever, but once you try to go into a fast where you're going to like 48, 72, 96 hours, you really have to get over the mental hump of it. And I was telling Zachary, the first time we did the fast, I like looked up at the mountain like, holy fuck, dude, I'm not going to eat for 3 days. And it was like hard to mentally get over it on like day 1, day 2. But on this time around became a lot easier. Now, with that being said, day 2 is like the hardest day. Day 2 is the hardest day because you're like really feeling it.
Yeah.
Like that second no dinner, you're like, all right.
Not even the second no dinner. It's really like
that lunch.
Second lunch.
Yeah. The lunch is where you hit it.
I was at work when it really started to hit.
Same.
And my body felt heavy. My head didn't hurt. It wasn't like a hangover headache. It just was heavy. It felt super heavy. And I think that's just because your body's using energy stores. It never does. And it's really starting to run out of those energy stores, especially from like athletes who don't have a ton of body fat already, that have a ton of that extra excess fat. For me, I think that's why it weighs a lot. And I think that's why the bone broth really helps. And that's why going forward, these 72-hour fast, 85-hour, 90-hour fast is I'm going to have bone broth. After the first 24, maybe after the first 36, probably.
I don't know. See, like that's where I feel like I'm different because I was telling Zachary, I was like, I like the fact that I kind of felt weak a little bit because it truly makes me feel like I'm like getting all the shit out of me. I will say when I was on the bone broth, it made me shit bad. like wake up middle of the night, have to shit. So, but then again, when you
got that day 4.
Yeah. So
like before I had breakfast.
Yeah. So listen, that's weird because I had to shit on day 4 too.
Yeah.
So on the morning of, bro, like I had to shit before I could eat, which is weird to me because I was like, I haven't eaten in 85 hours. So like, that's weird that I have to shit.
Did you take a shit at all day 2, day 3?
No.
Either did I.
No.
So same.
So I didn't, I like shit. Like
I was
the
almost
first
3
day.
days, no shit.
And that's why which is not a bad thing.
And we also just spent the last minute talking about shit on this podcast. So that's
great.
dope.
No, that's great. But I think it's fair to say, because
real.
when you do it within, like, these are the things that people don't talk about necessarily when you're fasting. But I will say, like, that first meal after you do fast for a long time, your shit is a little funky. It's like liquidy. It is like this, again, started talking about the stool a lot, but like that's part of this journey. And but yeah, like I will say I like the fact that it is hard. Like I think it has to be hard.
Yes.
The fast has to be hard. There were times throughout the day we were looking at each other like, fuck, this sucks. But that's the part of it. And people look at me like I'm crazy. The amount of people that message me and they're like, why are you doing that? Like, that's not healthy. Like, one, it is healthy. Like, we have been
if you do it right and you don't do it as often. You're only supposed to do it a couple of times a year.
Yeah, we're doing it. We're doing this twice a year. We're not doing this once a week. Like, to me, it's very important for yourself, like, to put your body through that. Like, your body needs to have adversity. And I may have tried to stretch it a little bit further than that this time around. Like, you know, we can play the clip of me, like, on the ground. I was fucked up, and I'll explain that situation at the end of this pod. But I think it is a thing where you have to try to challenge yourself. We just up until last like couple hundred years did we start eating 3 meals a day. Like, I still think breakfast is the best meal of the day. I think that's marketing. I think a cereal company made that as a marketing campaign.
Scientifically, for long-term health, you're supposed to consume 50 grams of protein before 10 a.m.
Maybe, but
also your like blood glucose is more prone to spike at night rather than the morning. It's important to actually eat more of your meals like in the morning to afternoon rather than late at night. And I think that's what, as humans, we have like these 8 p.m., 9 p.m. dinners, which goes perfectly in to my day 2. It was day 2, right? I went to Little Maven.
Yeah.
Bro, I was fighting demons. That food looks so good.
Offer context because people don't know what Little Maven is.
Little Maven is a restaurant that...
but I know it's a restaurant, but what Zachary's not saying is he was after work on day 2.
Yes.
So he's after work and then had to go to an event for work at a very nice restaurant and had to watch all these people eat food in front of him.
But I did leave about halfway through.
Which
I just
is
was like, bro, I was texting Joshua like, bro, fuck this fast. I'm going to break it. I just can't wait to eat. And I think pushing through that, you just see how far your like body can actually go. And that is super important. Joshua pushed it way too far. But for me, I think personally, I'm going to do the bone broth because I felt too weak.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like I was unproductive. And that's not what I want to be, just to like prove a point. I would rather just run on like minimal calories and be able to actually do stuff and be like, okay. Because even when we did the 72 with bone broth, it was still hard.
Yeah, I agree. I will say this time around, I felt a lot more sluggish. And even yesterday, after we broke the fast, I was telling Zachary, and I know Zachary felt the same way, but I was like physically exhausted. And don't get me wrong, we're not fasting like the average person. Like, we did not miss a workout. Like, we were still working out hard, saunaing hard. Like, there was no like, oh, because we're not eating, we're not working out. No. We pushed it. And I think that is what made me more exhausted, more sore. But I felt the fact that I didn't eat made me way more sore than I normally am, because we're in the gym every day. It's not like I was doing something that was more like, I would say I maybe would have toned down my workouts a little bit, like didn't do the extra set that I normally would have. But times like that, like, you're on 72 hours no food, like, you're not about to go push sets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I was in the sauna trying to push it a little too hard, and it's like I was fucked up. I was fucked up.
You know, that is a great segue into because you didn't eat, your body was more sore. I think you completely proved to yourself that when you take care of your body and you eat healthy, you don't need to go as hard in the weight room to have muscles and be cut. Bro, that shit is made in the kitchen. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, working out like helps you look like buff, but as far as like ripped, you have to eat healthy and then work out as well.
Yeah, I would say if you work out and don't eat healthy, you look good with a shirt on. If you work out and you eat healthy, you look great with a shirt off.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the difference. Like, eating, you can tell how people eat, and I feel like I like to use the fast every 6 months as a reset. Like, hey, you should be eating healthier. You should be doing these things. Me, I fall in the trap of like convenience. Like, we work so much that I'm like, sometimes I'm just like, fuck it. Let's just order some Mexican food. Like, I don't really give a fuck. So I think that's the difference with me. Like, I got to tone that down a little bit. I have to, cook my meals more. But it mostly is just because I'm like, man, I hate breaking my day to cook, clean, then get back into it. Sometimes I'm just like, I can order food while I'm fucking working. It's coming here. And then it's like, I grab it, eat it really quick, and I'm back to my shit. I'd have to clean nothing, cook nothing. It was like, I just didn't break stride. So there's a pro and con to it. But like, having being mindful of it, like, while you're fucking there, you're like, all right, maybe I shouldn't be eating all this bad shit. Maybe I shouldn't be eating all this sugar. It makes you more aware of what you're eating when you fast, because we're programmed to eat.
You definitely become way more conscious throughout it. And yeah, I mean, I think it was a good experience overall. But yeah, I'm kind of stuck on the bone broth thing. I think I want to do that. And I'm more so throwing that out there because if people made it this far, I really want them to understand, like, bone broth, no bone broth. But it's really up to you. Like, everybody's different. Joshua can run on a lot less food than like I do normally. But I also like to eat healthy, so I don't like to go out to eat.
Yeah.
I don't like to order. I cook a lot of my meals, or I fast. But yeah, I'm definitely more, I think, going to focus on, I think this might be important to the audience if they made it this far also, is how I'm starting to structure my meals.
Yeah.
I'm really thinking like, I really want to do almost a 24-hour fast, like Sunday to Monday.
Yeah.
I think it's super important. Maybe only having a meal 2, 3, 4 p.m. on Sunday, and then you fast to that time, Monday, and then you can kind of have, a late lunch, dinner, and it kind of gets the week off to a good start.
Like, when you're on a 24-hour fast, your brain fires. And Jesse Itzler talked about how he would fast 24 hours on Mondays, and it kind of got his week started every week. Day 2, day 3, I felt fatigued, and I wasn't working as much as I did on the first fast with bone broth. But it made me think throughout that fast, like, oh, maybe I will start doing another more 24-hour fast instead of like intermittent fast, just because like my brain felt peak. Like, you are buzzing. It's like a natural high. And I think that is where the fasting is good. Like, a hungry dog runs faster. And that's like true in a sense.
That's super real.
And it's real. And maybe on the day 2 and day 3, I kind of fell off a little bit. Excuse me. You fall off a little bit on day 2 and day 3, but I still think it's worth it in the process to go once every 6 months. Like, our birthdays are 6 months apart. So Exactly. So it's best to just do it right before both of our birthdays. Like, get that cleanse, figure it out, brush it out of you, and start fresh. But I do want to tell the story of what happened to me on day 3. So we were at exactly 72 hours of our fast. It was 8 p.m. at night, LA Fitness. I had just hit an arm day, so pretty fucking easy. Like, arm day, like, we're not stressed. Like, I was in flip-flops, dog. Like, I wasn't working out. Like, it was an arm day, true and true. Go downstairs, hit the sauna. Zachary was already in the sauna, and I just had to stay in for 14 minutes. We normally do a 15-minute stint, anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes we normally do. But I was just like, I want to push my mind. I wasn't
Which
feeling
I
good.
didn't. I did 9 minutes in the sauna.
Yeah.
Like, I was not trying to tempt it. I was taking it very light. I don't even know what I did to work out. No, I ran a little over a mile that morning, actually, when we were doing laundry. And that was like the hardest run of my life, single-handedly. It was literally like 1.25 miles, and it was hard. And then we go to the gym later. So I think I did the stair stepper, then sauna. Joshua hit an arm day, and then went in the sauna for 14 minutes. I go to Lil D when he's in the sauna. I got my shit. I'm all excited about these nuts and yogurt I got so I can eat, to break my fucking fast. And then I get a text like he's not feeling well, and I'm like, bro, fuck. I drop my shit. I don't even buy it. I jog over. This dude is laying on the fucking cement sidewalk, and I'm like, bro, like, come on.
Let me just tell this story. So I had just got out of the sauna, and so what happened was I got out of the sauna. I wasn't feeling good. I was already not feeling good in the sauna, bro. I felt like I was gonna throw up in the sauna. I'm like, all right, it's time. I gotta get out of here. I get out. I'm like just sitting in this chair in the LA Fitness, bunch of fucking old dudes around me. I'm just sitting there.
And were you feeling it?
I was feeling it. So what I did was I was like, all right, I need to cool down a little bit. And I made the mistake of going into the shower for 2 seconds and just like running cold water on my head. As soon as I did that, it like shocked me. And bro, I can't even explain this feeling that I was feeling. Like I was like drunk, high. My fucking hands were like, I couldn't close my hands. That was what was freaking me out. Like my hands were not circulating and I couldn't fucking close my hands. Like I thought it was shaking, but I was asking, I was like, feel me, am I shaking? No, everyone was like, no, you're not shaking.
Like a little,
yeah,
little
it was
anxiety attack.
It was like
almost.
anxiety almost. And so then I went and I laid down on the ground. And I like, of course, Zachary fucking running over, and he's laughing a little bit. Like everyone's kind of like, everyone
was not laughing.
No, everyone kind of thought I was being a little bit dramatic at first. Like everyone was like, "Oh, Josh was just being dramatic." I was like, "No, I'm not being dramatic right now."
I was at 8 out of 10 before I saw him.
I was like, "Bro," but I just kept doing this. I kept on like, for people that can't, they're just listening. I was opening and closing my hands because I literally thought I was like gonna lose circulation in my hands and not be able to close. Like that's what I thought, and I thought it was good for me to just keep moving them. Like I think it's always better. It's like when you like losing feeling of your hands, and I've never had like my hands fall asleep before. You know, it was weird. So long story short, I don't know if there's any sciencey medical people that listen to this podcast, but if they do and they've made it to this far, one, we appreciate you, but two, let me know if I was going into shock or was just having an anxiety attack. I don't know.
Both. It was probably a little both. Because Joshua, we did this last time we did the fast.
And I felt like that.
Draft.
And I had a little bit.
I did too.
And I had a little bit of feeling of that when I was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
And I like felt it, but it was like
I remember feeling that. And I was like, bro, I don't like that.
It was like electricity all through my body. It was honestly, it felt like I touched an electric fence. And I was like, and it like jolted me and I couldn't like close my hands. It was like the gnarliest thing I've ever felt. And part of me was like, Joshua, you went a little too far. The other part of me was like, you took it to a place where it's like, all right, that you know where the line is. And I think that's like, that's good though, partly, you know, like I think it's good, you know, like what would David Goggins do, bro? It's like, he's out here fucking with broken shins and knees and he's running every day and he's like, I'm not a pussy. And I think that's true. Like we live too soft. Like the amount of people that were like, man, that's fucked up. You shouldn't have done that. It's like, no, they're soft minded. Bro, people can get drafted now. All right? If you're 18 to 26, bro, you can get drafted.
Is that real?
Yes, they just passed a law through Congress.
I'm a 5-star for the Army, I'm telling you. I'm a 5-star recruit.
Listen, I always thought in my head, I was like, look, if I do get drafted, most people are like, oh, I'm going to pretend I'm hurt. No. Those are the motherfuckers they send to the front line to die. I'm going in there like a thoroughbred. Like, no. I'm the general dog. Like, let me be telling them what to do.
Sure.
Like, let me be fucking a sniper, dude. I don't want to be no fucking. I'm not trying to run up on Marines, dog. Like,
for sure.
No, sir.
Or you want to run with the Navy SEALs at that point.
Yeah,
for sure. You want to run with the baddest motherfuckers.
But for sure. I would want to go. Listen. If I was gonna do it, you got to run with the bad dudes.
Yeah,
you got to run with the baddest dudes.
That's how you're the safest.
Or are the Navy SEALs like the actors of the Army? Like we're like the Navy SEALs, like the shiny toy.
Maybe.
Shout out to those Navy SEAls though, because they're all OGs. I actually know a few Navy SEAls, and they're great dudes, crazy motherfuckers.
And one last thing before we go is, when you do this fast, I think the most important thing to understand is you don't feel 100% during, but I think the next week and two after, you feel incredible.
Yeah.
So I really want to put that out there. Really push yourself. Really challenge yourself. You can get over the hump. I promise you. You will not die. It's all habit breaking, and it's good for you. It's truly good for you. Cancer cells, excess fat, blood glucose levels. Really maintaining those is really important, and becoming insulin sensitive, which is the most important of all this, which leads to like chronic diseases and cancer and diabetes and all those things that are happening at a wild rate these days. And we have an older brother, Tyler, who is type 1 diabetic and has almost cured himself of diabetes. He's like pre-diabetic now actually. And really, it's all been from 100% eating healthy and not eating carbs, like barely any carbs.
And giving himself less insulin, because the more insulin you use, the more
Diabetic
you need.
you are.
Yeah, and that's the crazy part. So, and also it's crazy that like insulin was created in the 1960s and it's never been like, they was like, oh, that's perfect. Let's not touch that anymore. Like they could easily cure it, I'm sure. They're just like, well, why would we? If we can fucking charge someone to give themselves insulin every day till they die, perfect. It's like a great business plan, honestly.
Becomes like a handicap. Humans love a handicap. I promise you, humans love a handicap. Yeah. Put that on a t-shirt. I promise you. Everybody wants like a way out.
Yeah.
They want to be like, oh, I can't go there because of this.
Yeah.
I can't do that because of this.
It's a cop out.
Go all in. Enjoy your life. We appreciate you tuning in. If you made it this far, Joshua, tell them what to do.
Yeah, leave a like, subscribe, and fuck, man. If you made it this far, let us know. Yeah. Comment below. Be like, I made it to this point, because you're a real one for that. And it might just be only tip, but we love you anyways if you didn't. But cheers, guys.
Peace.
I got a fight for my bros. I got a stack of this gold. I tell you I'm on the road. About to get all this dough. Me and no fuck niggas know. I swear to God we the ghosts. This ain't the story they told. Man, if you know, then you know. I never had to tell my dogs that we on road for greatness. They paper getters. They want money more than they want fame shit.